Welcome to Category 5 Technology TV, episode number 308. It's Tuesday, the 13th of August, 2013. Great to see you. Hey, I'm scrambling tonight. Big change in our plans for the evening. Becca is not going to be joining us tonight, and I'm going to tell you all about what's going on in a little bit. But first of all, well, we're going to be changing up the format tonight. We're going to be answering your questions in the chat room. It's Category 5 on Freenode. You can also pick up the cat phone. Give us a call, 254-522-8588, and ask your question that way. And I'd love to actually help you out by remoting into your system using TeamViewer, and I can actually get into your system, whether you be on Linux or Windows, and be able to help you with your particular tech issues. So feel free to give me a call that way. Okay, coming up in the newsroom, a transit system is traveling at about 4,000 miles per hour. It's been proposed by Elon Musk. Also, Tor users, the anonymous browsing software and net, they are being urged to stop using Microsoft Windows. Find out more about that in just a little bit. The latest security breach is an Android app that lets you flush the toilet on rich people. What could it mean? Stick around, find out. All right. There's a new resistive RAM that has been announced. It can place a whole terabyte of data on a single chip, and it's 100 times faster than the standard mechanical hard drive, so don't go anywhere. These stories and more coming up, and don't forget to join us in the chat room, Category 5 on Freenode, or just go to Category5.tv and follow the links. Stick around. I'll be right back.
This is Category 5 Technology TV.
At Eco Alkalines, we believe you should be able to trust your batteries not just here, but here, here, and here. But with one exception, you should also be able to trust your batteries here. Eco Alkalines are the world's first and only certified carbon-neutral battery manufactured to the highest standards of recycling and quality, without any trace amounts of harmful chemicals like mercury, lead, or cadmium. Eco Alkalines provide performance that rivals leading national alkaline battery brands at a comparable price. Find out more about the Eco Alkalines difference. EcoAlkalines.com.
This is Category 5 Technology TV. Andrew Jameson in the chat room. Hey, nice to see you, buddy. Says, this reminds me of the old school days when Robbie F was solo without a co-host, and that's exactly what we're doing tonight. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's this thing that happens about once a year, and it's called vacation. And here I am, all right? We're live tonight, just so you know, and if you're watching this on demand, then it doesn't matter to you, but we are actually live tonight. Basically, I'm committed to always having an episode of Category 5. We've never missed a week. It is episode 308. That means 308 episodes or 308 weeks of Category 5 Technology TV. We've never missed one, even when it falls on Christmas Day. Here we are. And here we are at the end of my vacation time, and it just didn't work out for us to do everything that we had planned for tonight, considering that, I'm actually on holidays right now. But I got into the studio for you. Here I am. Wanted to make sure that you and I had a chance just to hang out. We're going to have a show together tonight, and just like Andrew Jameson in the chat room says, it's just like the olden days. We're literally just we're just hanging out in the studio here in my basement. We're just chatting. I welcome you to pick up the phone. You can give me a call. We'll actually have a chat. 254-5-CAT5TV. That's 2545. Oh, it's really, really hard to do it when I do it that way. 2545-CAT5TV. 254-522-8588. You can feel free to give me a call. This morning last night, I had a privilege of having a chat with Robert Gorzinski from Australia. We were in the chat room at Category 5 on Freenode, and he was having some trouble setting up his, a hard drive or something in ffDiaporama in Linux. And I said, you know what, let's just use TeamViewer. I'm going to get into your system and we'll fix it up. And it took about 2 minutes, I guess, Rob? And I was able to, just casually give him a hand, and that's kind of what this community is all about. That's what this show is all about. And I think certainly those who have been watching for some time know that my heart is in just giving you a hand and doing what we can to help you out. So I'd encourage you, if you have TeamViewer installed and you have a specific issue, hey, let's throw me for a loop. As long as it's not something that I can't do on the air, because we are limited to a 1 hour time constraint here. I'd be happy to take a look with team viewers. So that's one opportunity. And again, the cat phone is open. The chat room is there. Jot, it's great to see you. Thybot, it's good to see you. Access Web, Alcat, obviously going alphabetical now. Bob K54, cool dude. David 2926, D Hand, good guy. Gpop7, Joe DeMax, Kekakek. Good to see you. King Arthur. I can't stop there. I feel like, I gotta keep going through the list. Maxwell 6307. Otherwise, what's going to happen is the iBot is going to say, hey, you didn't mention me. That's why I mentioned you off the top. Steve Cug, Slip 3D, Artie Blair, Paul 8, Old Guy, Jim. Great to see you again. Who else haven't I mentioned? You, Al. Nice to see you. And if I didn't mention your name, it's like the magic mirror on Romper Room, right? It's I see you, Al. I see G-Pop. I see GWG and Popey and Garby. Good to see ya. Old Guy Jim, hey, it's no problem if you haven't been able to get here. Speaking of scheduling difficulties, that's exactly what we are up against tonight here at the studio. I'm going to do my best for you. I'm watching the chat room. I'm trying to communicate with you. I've got screens all around me. I've got papers in front of me. I'm going to do my absolute best, folks. So just hang in with me and hang out with me. And I think it'll be a fun show. Okay, what do you... Okay, so you've been watching episodes. This is Old Guy Jim in the chat room. Been watching episodes of a later date. I wanted to give you a big thank you. This is directed toward myself for the lesson on ffDiaporama. I've been looking for something that I could use for Linux that could come close to ProShow Gold for Windows. Thank you. This did it. Old Guy Jim, I'm very, very happy that ffDiaporama was something that helped you out. That is a slideshow tool that's available for Linux. I'll tell you which episode it is on. Episode number 305. So if you want to go back, if you missed the episode, it is when Robbie, myself... Here, obviously I'm reading. When myself and Krista took a look at that software, it's available for Windows and Linux. It makes it really, really easy to make some very attractive slideshows using your pictures. You can make videos out of them and then do whatever you like with that. So glad that helped. Gpop7, hey, nice to see you. Guest Harry, welcome to the chat, and it's good to see you. All right, folks. Well, I've got a lot of viewer questions that have come in, viewer comments as well. We're just going to tackle those and go through the mailbag. Again, pick up the phone, give me a call. If you missed the number, it's at the bottom of the website, Category5TV. Hey, I got a postcard this week. Hey, thanks for sending it in. What a great thing to receive on my vacation. And you know what? It's funny because this was taken, this picture was taken at a mid-1800s kind of setup. Pioneer village kind of thing called Crossroads Village, and they call it a living history community, which is really, really cool. But why that's interesting to me tonight is because on our vacation, our theme this year has been Pioneer Village, and you didn't know that when you sent that, Dennis Kelley. So we've actually attended 2 Pioneer villages in the Halliburton area. We went to the Halliburton Museum. They had a family fun day there last week. We were there. It was a great time, and thank you to everybody who was involved in that. The kids had a blast. And then we headed out to Minden on the weekend, and in Minden, Ontario, we went to the Pioneer Museum there, and that was very, very interesting to see some of the cool, basically the old artifact-like stuff, and they have kind of a village set up. Definitely worth the visit. But that's why this was interesting to me, because it takes place at a pioneer village. And it just happens to be the theme of my week. And this comes to us from Dennis Kelley, who says, to Robbie and current co-host, isn't this ironic? Thank you for an awesome show. I learn something every day that I watch. I finally got a postcard for something in my area of Michigan. The family and I visited this 1800s era village this past weekend. Kind of funny, eh? Not much technology as we know it, but very modern for its time. Thanks from Dennis Kelley, sent to us recently from Michigan in the United States. Thank you very, very much for sending that in. Cool to see a picture of Crossroads Village, the print shop there. And that looks like somewhere to visit for sure. What is your favorite Pioneer Village? It's interesting as a tech guy, and I think Dennis Kelley can attest to this, and even just reading the back of his postcard there, it kind of goes to show that we're stepping into an era here where they didn't have the same technology that we do. I mean, this would be witchcraft. Seriously. But there it is. And you go there, and they've got all these interesting gadgets. And it's interesting, isn't it, Dennis, that even though they didn't have our technology, the electronic stuff, they had stuff that makes you go, oh, my goodness, that's smart. I wish I had that in my kitchen. That's a really smart tool. And they had a lot of things like that. So, yeah, I theme my vacations just because, the kids are growing up, and we try to have a lot of fun with them, and then it helps us to figure out what we're going to do for the time that we have off, too. So, needless to say, tonight is the final day of my vacation, so thank you for joining me, and we're just going to chill, relax, extreme close-up of my face. Hopefully you can see that I am slightly tanned, and that is a good thing tonight. Andrew Jameson loves going to historic Williamsburg. Is it Williamsburg? Yeah. And that is very, very cool. Okay, so I've got your viewer questions. Let's get right into it, folks. And if you've got something for me, it's going to be tough for me, I'll be honest. I don't have a co-host here with me tonight as I usually do. This is the first time in a long time, and so I'm a little out of practice when it comes to running everything at the same time and keeping track of your questions and your comments. So if you have something for me, please post it in the chat room to my attention, but also copy it in a private message to me. And in order to do that, you can either double-click on my name, which is Robbie F, in the chat room. The chat room kind of looks like this if you're using an application, and you just double-click on my name, and it will bring up a private window that allows you to chat with me. If you don't have a tool like what I'm using as Pigeon, then you can simply do this, /MSG Robbie F, and it's not that I'm full of monosodium glutamate, it's that you are sending me a message. And you can just say hello, and that will actually send me a private message that says hello. Okay? So that's how you send me a PM. That helps me tonight because I'm here alone. So I appreciate that very, very much. Sorry, yes, Williamsburg, Virginia. Andrew Jameson clarifies. We do not have a Disneyland in Canada. We have a Wonderland in Toronto, which is about 45, 50 minutes away from here. Look it up, Wonderland. Just like Alice. And lots of fun there. But it's not themed like Disney World, obviously. But it used to be owned by Paramount, and when it was owned by Paramount, that was awesome, because that was when Paramount also owned, you guessed it. Ooh. So that's where I got my first, Starfleet communicator and all that kind of stuff. But nowadays it's not themed like that. But all right, so keep in mind, please private message me if you've got a question. I've got something here. It comes to me from Derek, and Derek simply says, "Hey Robbie, I found your site looking up Linux stuff for kids, and I found quite an interesting episode on your site. I like it. Thanks. But may I suggest that you put approximate times for when and where the individual articles are in the show. This particular episode was a 1 hour long episode, as they all are, and it took me ages to get to the part I was specifically interested in. Once I found it, it was very informative. So with a 1 hour show, if it took you ages to get to the point, then obviously your player is playing super slow. But no, I get you. Okay, so I'm going to click on this link. It's episode number 224. Beautiful, beautiful picture of Krista and I at the top of the page. And you see what has happened here is that these old episodes, this is 224, so this is, a long, long time ago, almost 100 weeks ago. So these, in the show notes, it has all the show notes, but it doesn't have a really cool feature, which is the play links, Derek. And I'll show you what a new episode has. So what we have since introduced into the show is exactly what you're asking for. Let me bring up last week's not last week because I was on vacation. Let's see. Bring up a previous episode. Here we go. Episode number 306, for example. So on episode 306 here, Derek, what's cool about this is you see, it's the same kind of layout, but it has these play buttons right next to the particular items that you're looking at. So we love your suggestion. We have implemented your suggestion, Unfortunately, it has not been implemented in the particular episode that you were watching, only because it was a very old episode. And in fact, you know, when you open the episode, it actually tells you at the bottom of the page, this is a very old episode. Some of the technologies may not even be in use anymore. So that's just simply what it is. But our new, you know, our site does carry that feature, and it's a cool feature, Category5TV. Check it out. Okay, checking back at the chat room. It's difficult for me, folks. Okay, we've got... I've got something here from Old Salt. Old Salt says, Robbie, I don't know if you got my last message, but I got Ubuntu 13.04 working. Fantastic. I know it's been a few weeks that Old Salt has been working at this. That's good news. Hope that we've been of some amount of help, at least in the figuring it out kind of phase. Old Salt says, the only problem that I have now is that I've got about 10 partitions too many from trying so many distros. Each time I tried, they made partitions within partitions within partitions. I made one partition using Windows, and then Linux made the rest during the installation procedures. Can they be converged into one? By the way, the other OS is Windows 8. If you need more information, let me know. Okay, Old Salt. Well, here's the thing. And this comes to us from Maine, USA. Thank you for tuning into the show tonight, Category 5 Technology TV. You've got all these partitions, and you know, you've got logical and primary partitions and extended partitions, and everything's kind of broken up. And it just comes from experimenting, I think, Old Salt. And the thing is that that's the nature of the beast. You're learning your way around getting this thing up and going, and if you have a backup that you can restore of your Windows 8 system, then I would personally probably go with restore back from a Clonezilla image if you have one, and then reinstall now that you know what you're doing, kind of thing, and you can get it in there without creating this kind of dog's breakfast, if you will, as far as partitions go. But the fact is that in order to clean that up, it's really quite difficult without data loss or breaking the system. You could, and it's going to cause deletion of data, okay? So I'm going to suggest this, but knowing that you have a good, solid backup, okay? You could delete the partitions that are offending. Make sure you don't break your Windows partition, because that's not what you want to do. Delete all of Linux. Hear me out here, folks. Delete it all so that you can just create that one empty space. Not a partition, empty space. Okay, so get rid of all the partitions. It's going to destroy everything that you've put into Linux, but now you've got one large contiguous space on your hard drive. Okay, it's a great big space that you can now install your Linux operating system into, and then get it up and going. And it's like you started from square one, and then no harm done, no harm, no foul, and you'd be good to go. But even when I was learning Linux, I baked a lot of systems and just had fun with it. And I think that you're learning your way around, and I encourage you to keep doing that. For a time, I even kept a separate hard drive in my computer, and I would log into my BIOS on boot, and I would switch over to the Linux one. And even when I first started, I think I was actually swapping, pulling the cable from the back of my Windows drive and plugging it into my Linux drive, and then I could mess with that Linux drive to my heart's content. Never had to worry about wrecking my my Windows installation, because back then I was dependent on that for business or whatever. So then once I got used to running Linux on that secondary hard drive, which was just whatever hard drive I had running, then that's when I got into a dual boot setup, so that I could boot into Windows when I needed it and boot into Linux when I needed it. And I got into just running running Linux exclusively, but I kept that dual boot environment so that I could boot into Windows if I ever needed it. Then I started to find after time that I no longer needed the Windows partition, so I created a virtual machine, and I installed Windows XP into it because I happen to have a Windows XP license off of another computer, had the disk, and it was easy breezy to install, and it ran great in a virtual machine. So then that's when I was able to say, okay, now I'm Linux, and I've got Windows in a virtual machine. I can just tinker with that whenever I need to, but it's not really my operating system. So So all that to say, I know the question stems from what can you do about the partitions. I would say, start again. But it's not going to hurt anything really if you've got all of these partitions. And it depends again. Here's another case, Old Salt, where sure, I could maybe remote in and take a look at your F disk and take a look at your FS tab and find out where things are being mounted, what has data, what is actually just empty partitions. Maybe use gparted to determine some of that information. That's something that maybe we could take a look at if you have TeamViewer installed. That'd be a fun way to take a look for you. But I don't actually... Do we see Old Salt in the chat room? I don't see you tonight. But my friend, if you want us to have a look for you, let me know, okay? And thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the question. Hey, folks, just a reminder, if you're chatting in the chat room and you have a question for me or a comment, just feel free to carbon copy that over to a private message just so that I don't miss it. I am co-hostless tonight. This is Category 5 Technology TV, episode 308. Nice to have you here. As I'm here alone, I'm trying to keep up with the chat room and keep up with your emails that are coming in, and Twitter, Facebook, you name it, YouTube. Nice to see you. Blip TV, FirstRun.tv, Miro Internet TV, wherever you're watching from right now. Oh, and you on the Roku. Nice to have you joining us on the blip.tv channel as well. You can add our show directly to your Roku box. All you have to do is just go to category5.tv, click on to the RSS link on the right-hand side. It's a familiar icon. Or simply go to cat5.tv/RSS. That's our short link, cat5, not category, cat5.tv/RSS. And that will take you there as well. Okay, what else have I got? I can't believe it's almost time for the news, folks. And I've got some exciting stories for you, some interesting stories, I think. And we're going to be jumping into that in just a few minutes' time. If you're watching off the top of the show, you know what's coming up. I want to say thank you to our viewers who have sent in donations this week. This week is, of course, a bit of an odd show because I'm here alone. It's vacation week, and I do this once a year or so where we just kind of take a casual and impromptu kind of relaxing evening. But for those of you who were able to send in a donation over the past week, 2 weeks, I just wanted to let you know personally that is greatly appreciated. We're saving up to renovate a new studio space, Studio D. This is my home basement, and it's wonderful. It works really well for us, but it does cut down the amount of floor space in my wife's and my home by about a third. And so, we look forward to one day having a studio space all of our own for Category 5. It's going to be soundproof. That's the other advantage. So, or sound, at least sound absorbing. I guess we've had a contractor in. They said it's not soundproof. It's sound something, deflecting and absorbing, and it's a little different. But they know what they're talking about. They're going to make it happen for us. And I appreciate your donations, which are being set aside for that when possible. Otherwise, they help us to pay for the bills. As you know, those are pretty high. But we do what we can with what we have, and we appreciate you for sending in that support. If you care to support us in that way and you're able to, I encourage you, any amount helps us. And I only say this because we're in a time where we do need to raise some funds. It's cat5.tv/C, and you know me that I'm an honest guy, and I'm not out asking for handouts at any time. We've been doing this for 308 weeks. We want to grow, and that's as simple as it is. But your donations help. If your donations come, then that helps us out. Otherwise, I'm hitting the pavement too. I spent a weekend. I traveled. I drove for about an hour. I think it was an hour and a half drive, and I went to Georgian Bay. I got all the equipment that I needed, and I did a large amount of video shooting for a real estate company there. And it was a fun project, but the whole thing was specifically to raise funds for the renovation. So I was actually volunteering my time. I'm not getting paid for that time at all, and was there doing filming for a real estate agency. And then everything that's raised from that goes directly into the pot for the renovation as well. So just so you know kind of where we're at there. And I'm going to put some information on our website and certainly on my blog, baldnerd.com. Okay, don't forget, Category 5 phone is open, 2545-CAT5TV. And also our mobile site, which is going to land squarely on my chest. Ouch. m.cat5.tv. I should move over here. Scan that code. It'll take you to the mobile site. You can listen. I know those of you who are listening right now on your mobile device, even if some people have said that they're in the car or whatever, or they're working in the shop and the signal is not strong enough to be able to watch the show, but they're able to tune in live with the radio feed, which is very, very handy. It uses less bandwidth, so if you're on your cellular network, it's going to cost you a lot less if you have a limited amount of data that you're able to transfer without incurring expense, because it uses very, very little data. Okay. Time for another question, I think, before we get into the news. Let's see what we got. Anybody in the chat room? I just want to give you a chance. Thanks, everybody. A. Jameson wondering a little bit more about the space. I'm going to be revealing much more about that Studio D over the next several weeks. All I know is that we had really hoped to be able to move in this fall in time for Season 7's beginning. And that's probably not going to happen just because of we got our quote, and it is about a third more than we were expecting. And it's a full, honest quote from a gentleman that I respect highly. He's very, very good at what he does, and I trust him, and I know that he's given us a good deal. And a fair deal, I guess, would be the most important thing. And it came in quite a bit heavier than we thought. So it is going to take some time unless something comes about, and certainly your donations, again, help with that. But A. Jameson, it is going to be just a separate space, and that's really what it's going to be about. It's going to be great. Cheers, old guy Jim. I'm just watching the chat room for those of you who are, why is he just staring at the screen? And the witty banter tonight is not quite the same without Hillary or Sasha or Krista or Eric especially, or Rachel or Abigail or Becca sitting at my side, and Erica. So it's all up to me tonight, folks. All right. You know what? I'm going to jump into the news, folks. This is exciting stuff tonight. Serial entrepreneur and billionaire Elon Musk unveiled design plans for the Hyperloop. It's a super fast transport system that could cut the travel time from Los Angeles to San Francisco to 30 minutes. Costs a fraction of the current proposed high-speed rail project. I mean, a very, very small amount compared to that, what is it, like an insanely $70 billion project or something like that. And this is way, way less than that. The co-founder of PayPal, that's who this guy is. He's also the man behind commercial space transport firm SpaceX, as well as somebody that you've heard, a company you've heard of, Tesla. They make the electric cars. So he's no stranger to creating businesses and all that, but he actually tapped into the workforce that he has through those businesses. About 1,000 employees from both Tesla and SpaceX came up with the idea. It's basically an elevated tube, as you see in the picture there, and it has travel pods that move through at nearly the speed of sound. In a technical paper published yesterday, Musk said that the idea is similar to the old pneumatic tubes used to send mail and packages within and between buildings. You remember those? And there it goes. So now you are in this tube, and it's much larger scale. But it's actually going to operate on less pressure to save energy, and that's a key point considering some of the competition that's out there. He said it's going to cost less than 1/10 of the planned high-speed rail system in California, as a matter of fact, which, yes, is confirmed here to be almost $70 billion in that proposal. But here's the thing. Not only is it only 1/10 of the price, but it is 6 times the speed. Unlike the competing idea called ET3, Musk's concept would not rely on the vacuum system, which he claims would in fact be impossible to maintain in such a large system. A video about the idea claims that in the frictionless environment that they're going to create, or that they have come up with the concept for at least, the cars, each carrying several people, could top 4,000 miles per hour, about 6,500 kilometers per hour, or 6 times the speed of a Boeing 757. It claimed a travel time of around 45 minutes from New York to Los Angeles. Crazy stuff. You can actually get links and see the videos, all that, at newsroom.category5.tv if you'd like to check those out. Legitimate users of the Tor anonymous browsing service, they are being advised to stop using Windows if they want to keep their identity hidden. So is that you? Listen up. If you're using Windows with Tor, the advisory comes after an actual attack on Tor that targeted Windows users specifically and sought to gather data that could be used to identify those people. In addition, Tor warned that versions of Firefox before release 17.0.7 were open to the attack. As an alternative, Tor suggests, get this, the Linux operating system, or alternatively, Apple OS X, or the more esoteric systems such as Tails. It is still not clear who's behind the sophisticated attack, but this is a little bit scary. Early investigations showed that the data was going to a location in America, probably the state of Virginia, and further sleuthing has now revealed that the web address that's receiving all of this private information about your surfing habits on Tor is actually run by the U.S. NSA. The National Security Agency. So that's a little bit ominous. Here's something for you. Have you got a $6,000 toilet in your house? Beware. Luxury toilet users are being warned about a hardware flaw. It's not what you would expect. Retailers of this nearly $6,000 toilet, it's called the Sati toilet. It includes automatic flushing, bidet spray, of course. If you're going to pay $6,000 for a toilet, you're not going to have to wipe. Plain and simple. It also plays music. Yeah. And it has an automated fragrance release. My toilet has that too. Not the same thing. The toilet is controlled by an Android app. Kind of interesting, right? But a hardware flaw means that any phone with the app could activate any of the toilets. The toilet uses Bluetooth to receive instructions via the app, but the PIN code for every single toilet made is hard set to 0000. That means it cannot be reset, you can't change the PIN, and it can be activated by any phone that has the app and is within Bluetooth range. A report by TrustWave's Spider Labs information security experts warns, and this is a quote, okay, folks? This is real. An attacker could simply download the application and use it to cause the toilet to repeatedly flush, raising the water usage and therefore utility costs of the user. Okay, that's not our biggest concern. Here's the thing. They reveal that the attackers could also cause the unit to unexpectedly open and close the lid. I guess that's a feature of the app, of course. They can activate the bidet or the air dry functions. There's more functions that we didn't even know about here. And this, they warn, could cause discomfort or distress to the user. Security expert Graham Cluley told the BBC, although this vulnerability seems largely harmless, what's clear is that companies building household appliances need to have security in mind just as much as computer manufacturers. Boy, oh boy, the first dorm room that gets one of these toilets, you know that there's going to be some pranking going on. Guaranteed. Startup Crossbar. Get this. No, they don't make rainbows, despite what you may think from what you see on the screen. They claim that they have developed the world's most advanced non-volatile memory. It's capable of storing up to about 1 terabyte of data on a single chip. That's not all. The memory also touts being the most energy efficient, being able to perform 20 times faster than traditional NAND. It has 10 times the endurance of typical NAND as well. So it holds more, it lasts longer, and it's faster. Sounds good to me. The technology is called resistive RAM, or RRAM for short, and with a mere 200 millimeter square chip, 1 terabyte of storage can be held. So you think about that with RRAM, the future of mechanical storage really does appear grim, but that assumes that Crossbar is actually going to come through with the promises that they are making. It also makes the assumption that prices are going to reach, a consumer accessible level. Today's hard drives top out at about 4 terabytes in capacity. If a single chip here can store 1 terabyte, just imagine the potential. It's 100 times faster than that same hard drive, the mechanical drive that holds 4 terabytes. So it's faster, holds more space. Things are going to become very, very interesting soon. And it seems that at that point, processors and other hardware within your computer, those are going to be the bottlenecks. Unlike, days gone by where the hard drive was always the bottleneck up until the advent of SSDs, and now it's flipping around all the way, and we're just going to see that open wide. If your hard drive, imagine this, if your hard drive, you know the difference between a spinning hard drive, a mechanical hard drive, and an SSD. If you want a performance boost in your computer, stick an SSD in there, replace your spinning hard drive because that's your bottleneck. The SSD will speed it up. Well, now they're saying, okay, this is now 20 times the speed of an SSD and stores more on the drive. My SSD is 120 gigs. This is a terabyte, 1,000 of them. Crazy stuff. You can get the full stories on our website. We've got a dedicated website for the Newsroom. It's newsroom.category5.tv. And if you've got a story that you think is worthy of on-air mention here on Category 5, please pop us an email, newsroom@category5.tv. Just send us the link if you like, and you could be mentioned on the air. Hey, tonight's news is brought to you in part by Roy W. Nash. Also, Rachel Shue sent in one of the stories, and I'd love to receive some from you. For the Category 5 Technology TV Newsroom at newsroom.category5.tv, I'm Robbie Ferguson. And thanks for joining me tonight on Category 5 Technology TV. It's so good to see you. And chat room is going strong. Nice to see everybody. Rachel. Oh, Jot. For the record, Rachel Shue's story was... the one about the train type system from Elon Musk. So just none of that toilet humor. All right, folks, still got some more questions here for you. Or from you, I should say. And through the week, if you're not able to get to us during the live show, you can join us by emailing live@category5.tv. And I do my best, and the co-hosts do their best to get your questions in here on the show. So make sure you tune in, the following week and the week after that, and see if your question was answered. And we certainly do our best to give you a hand. Don't forget, Cat Phone is open tonight. It's 2545 Cat 5 TV. Would love to hear from you. And of course, chat room, free node, Category 5. Hi, Robbie and Becca. I'm sorry, Becca couldn't be here tonight. Rob Gore says, I thought I would pass this information on to you and all of your viewers. I discovered that it is now possible to easily back up your Blu-ray movies that you own very easily using two tools in Linux. Okay, so what Rob Gore is talking about here is, here's the classic scenario. Here's my house. 3 kids. All of them have peanut butter on their fingers. Don't know why. It's just the way it is. They get into the Blu-rays and DVDs and VHS and betas and 8-tracks. And for some reason they put peanut butter everywhere. It doesn't really happen that way. But seriously, when you got kids, you got to have backups. We found this out. Here's a good example. My son's favorite DVD. And, just a children's show. And, it means nothing to us beyond that it was a show that we bought him. But he watches it regularly, and he has for years. And he loves it. And then our youngest, who's 2 years old, decided when he got a hold of it that he would try to take it out of the DVD case. And what did he do? The way that he pulled it out, snapped the DVD in half. We went online, and the DVD is no longer available. And you can get it, but it's really, really expensive. And so, sad case. And I said to Becca, if only we had a backup of that DVD, then I could simply burn a copy and we'd put it in the case, and we legitimately own that DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, but it would have been a fail-safe for us. Or better yet, I could have put it in a box somewhere. This is what I usually do with most of my movies, is I put those in a box in the garage, and the ripped version, which is what we call it, is just a file, and it sits on the iOS, which is connected to the TV. It's a PIVOS device, so it lets us watch it directly on the TV. So then there's no discs being moved around. So here Rob Gore is saying, okay, if you legitimately own these Blu-ray discs, these aren't rentals, these are discs that you have purchased and you own, or you've got them for presents or whatever, and you can actually make copies. I'm going to come back to Rob Gore's comments there, but right now we've got a call on the cat phone. Hello, who's this? Hello. I seem to have lost you. Okay, well, if that was you, give me a call right back. So there's a tool called MakeMKV, as Rob Gore is pointing us to, and it rips the content of the disc. And remember that discs, Blu-rays, DVDs, they carry what's called copy protection, and that is legitimately there to protect from people who want to abuse the copywritten material and distribute it illegally. Well, that's not what we're doing. We're going to use this to back up legitimate copies of our own owned stuff. So with this tool, MakeMKV, it not only rips the content from the DVD, and when I use the word rip, we're not talking about ripping paper or ripping DVDs in half like my son will do. We're talking about making a copy from the disc, so it's an optical disc, and we are making a magnetic copy, it's called a rip, onto the hard drive of our computer. Problem with Blu-ray is that the discs store up to 50 gigabytes. So a lot of us don't have enough space to be storing 20, 30, 40, 50 gigabyte movies on our hard drive. So that's where the second tool comes in that Rob Gore is mentioning, which is one that we've looked at in the past, and it's called Handbrake. And Handbrake offers compression, and it's a free tool for Linux, and it offers the ability to take those massive files that have been ripped now and re-encodes them into a smaller file. So now a 20 gig file might be 1 gig. And it does that in a lossy compression, which means it loses quality, yes, but will you notice it? Probably not. It's probably good enough that your eye won't necessarily pick it up. Okay, so here's what's cool. Rob Gore has included a link to a forum post, and I'll actually give you a link to this. I'm going to create a short link for you right now, which won't take me a moment. Usually I'm able to do this quickly while the co-hosts are speaking, so you'll just need to bear with me just for a half a moment, because I want to give you this link that Rob Gore is giving us to this amazing tool. The name of it again is called Make, M-A-K-E, MKV. That's hard to say. MakeMKV. But that's what I'm going to... You know what? I'm going to just call it MKV. cat5.tv/MKV. And that's M for Mary. That's active for you. And I do have someone on the cat phone, do I? Hello. Oh, Jim.
Yeah, I had him speaker wire come unplugged.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I had a question for you.
Okay.
On Ubuntu 1204, when you right-click, you can't format anymore.
Doesn't it drive you nuts?
I know. Is there a way of adding it in the file system, like you showed that one night where you were adding things in, I forget what you called that box you opened up, where you added things and then changed them, like in the, like Microsoft has their...
yeah. Do you mean in the context menu, when you right-click, you want to have the ability to format a disk?
Right. Is there any way of adding that?
Well, the thing is that with Linux, it's a little bit different, Jim. Because we're not... Okay, on a Windows system, you're used to right-click on a C drive, and the C drive is actually your physical computer, technically, or your hard drive, right? That's what you would compare it to. In Linux, though, everything is done in mount points. So when you talk about formatting, you don't want to format the mount point, so that might be, like whatever drive. You wouldn't right-click on a mount point and tell it to format, because it is just a mount point. And I know that's kind of... It sounds convoluted when I explain it, but what you might want to do is install a tool. Have you seen gparted? Have you ever seen that tool?
I've seen it, but it looks, I'm always hard drive doing some to my hard drive instead of my USB.
And that's why we always keep a good backup, Jim. I'm just going to quickly bring up gparted for Jim here. And if you have the show up, Jim, with the audio muted, gparted, you just bring it up, and then over on the right-hand side here, it gives you a list of the different hard drives that are in your computer. All right? So make sure... Now, see, in my case, it's a little bit dangerous because look at my drives. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Okay. SDA, that's my first hard drive, and SDB, what do you notice? They're exactly the same size. So I could very, very easily accidentally format the wrong thing. But you see what I'm saying? It's giving me dev/SDA. It's not giving me the mount point. It's the actual hard drive. And as I seem to have lost Jim. He seems to have unplugged a speaker cable or some crazy thing. But Jim, that's what I would look at. Okay, gparted now lets you select the drive, and you can tell which one it is. I can see that this is actually my data drive because I selected it, and I can see the label, and I can see how it's designed. And then I can do things such as, okay, I can now with this drive selected, I can right-click, and I can go Format To, and I can tell it what I would like it to format as. And if I want it to be accessible in Windows, I would want to go with NTFS. If I want it to be Linux, it would be ext2, 3, 4, something like that. And then just hit apply up at the top, or the little enter box, which is apply all operations. And then you'll be good to go. So, sorry I lost you there, Jim. Not sure what happened on the phone line, but I appreciate the call, and I hope that helps you out. Okay, back to Rob Gore's comment here. So we've got this short link created at cat5.tv/MKV, and that's going to take you to a forum post. MKV. And in that post, this is the first post that he wants to draw your attention to. You'll see this file called build.makemkv.sh. And if you click on that, which is a file created by one of its users, probably save it to your hard drive. I don't know how long they're going to leave it up there. But let's open it and see what this is actually doing. So, all right. I need to browse to a text editor or some crazy thing. Here we go. Sometimes my system doesn't like me when I am zoomed in. Tell me about it. Okay. Over here. Zoom out. Where's a co-host when you need them? Okay. User bin Pluma. Let's open that up. There we go. And I want to show you what it's doing. This script is pretty smart. It installs the essential stuff that's needed in order to create and install this application and many others. It goes into your temporary folder, and it downloads a copy of the HTML output from MakeMKV.com. And then it uses a couple of tools, grep and sed or SED, and it uses some regex, just simple regex, in order to determine what the file names should be, and then it is going to download them and install them. So the script looks safe as long as the software is good. It does use sudo, which is going to, of course, force super user access during the installation procedure. The software looks good, and Rob Gore, looks like you've tested it out. And check out MakeMKV.com in addition to the link that I just gave you, and you'll see that this is in beta. Very, very simple tool, available for Windows, Mac, and using that link that I just gave you, cat5.tv/MKV, there's a script that will allow you to install it in Linux very, very easily. All right? And it just allows you to select the disk and then copy it, open it to your hard drive. It will just basically download the disk to your hard drive as this massive MKV file. That's a video file. And then once you've got that, you can re-encode it with Handbrake, as Rob Gore is suggesting. And perhaps a good feature to do on the show as well, but we are slightly limited for time tonight in order to do that. So I'll just pass along the information that Rob Gore has given us and suggest that you take a look. And Rob Gore, we appreciate that great information. Okay. Good guy is wondering, just a quick question there about Vortex Box, whether I've played around with it, and the answer would be no to that. I have not personally. Just watching the chat room, doing my best. Okay. Cool. All right. Next up, Kek. Thanks to Robbie's obsession with backups. I say this warmly. I'm reading this, okay? So this is all kek. I'll try to get the emphasis correct. I say this warmly since people have said that about me too. I am now using a rotating offsite backup discs, plural, for both home and work. Now, there's always at least one backup disk offsite. Robbie's insistence about having backups offsite has inspired me to finally get this set up properly. I use Bacula backup software, which is, he's got a link here for Bacula.org, or Bacula, Bacula.org. Makes me think of Captain Archer. Backing up, this is a software tool that I haven't looked at there, so you've got me there. Looks really, really cool. I think we need to take a look at it as networking backup software for Windows, Linux, Mac, open source. Love the idea. Okay, so he's backing up about 6 computers at home and about 30 at work to a hard disk. He has I should read it in first person as he's written it so that I don't mix up his words. I have a hierarchy of disks, so there is always at least 6 months of backups available. Very nice. Robbie, thank you very much for your hard work making a very informative, fun, and professional show each and every week. It's really appreciated. And Becca, who was on the air last week, and who is my wife and allows this show to go on. He says, thanks to you too, Becca. I'm sure Robbie couldn't possibly put on a show like this each week without a lot of help from you. All the best, Carl Cunningham, a.k.a. Kek. Thank you very much for the email. Appreciate the kind words, and it's certainly true. As any husband would say, I mean, if you don't have the support of your wife, how can you do the things that you do, right? And this show is perfect a testament to that, where this is, like I say, she's given up a third of the house, folks, for 6-7 years. That's how we've been doing it. Thank you very much. So Bacula sounds good, and my insistence on backing up stems from that one time where it happened to me when I was a young recording artist. And I've got CDs out there, and my band back in the day, we released some CDs, and we did fairly well for ourselves. We played at the Canadian Gospel Music Awards. We traveled around Ontario. We did a fair bit of stuff together. Becca was a part of that band, and this was before we had kids. And at that time, I had been producing a lot of the stuff on my own in the house, and recording tracks and things. And at some point, the hard drive that stored all the music crashed, and I lost everything that I was working on. Not everything as in all my music, but all of the stuff that I was presently working on, because I didn't have an up-to-date backup of that system. So I learned the hard way, and I see customers all the time who learn the hard way, and it's painful to see them go through that, and the horror of realizing that you've lost data is a terrible thing. So very pleased that is the impact that the show has had on you, Kek. We appreciate the email, but very happy that you've learned to, or maybe that it's just nudged you enough to say, okay, this is important. I need to get this done now, because it could be tomorrow, and that hard drive could crash, and you'll say, wow, good thing I had that backup. So appreciate that very, very much. This is Category 5 Technology TV. Our website is www.category5.tv. It's so good to see you. Thanks for joining me tonight. Here all by my lonesome, but we're having a good time together anyways. I love receiving your questions. Jot reminds us that a backup is only a backup if you can also restore it. So if your backup is just some drive somewhere that you put stuff on, maybe like, let's say a CD. Here's a good example. You put all your stuff on a CD, or a flash drive, a better example. You've got a flash drive and you put all your stuff on there and you call that a backup, and then you realize when it comes down to it, when your hard drive crashes, that the data is actually corrupt on that drive, because CDs only last for so long. They don't last very long at all, as a matter of fact, because consumer burnable CDs are just, they're flimsy. They're susceptible to light, vibration, and heat and cold. People think that CDs are reliable because a CD will last forever, right? Like 300 years. Yeah, but not consumer ones, not the ones that you're burning in your computer. The difference is that when you buy a CD or a DVD or something like that, an optical disc, they use their masters are actually, you remember the old records? It would be like a punch, and they would physically create the disc using not optical technology, but a punch. It's some kind of crazy, the way that they do it is through physical means. So it's actually physically embedded into this disc, and then the optics that read it. But it's a physical thing. Now, with these consumer ones, okay, these ones, in fact, it has the same reading technology, but the writing technology is different. It's layer upon layer upon layer. So it's got a very, very, very thin layer of this metal. And the burning laser shines through a special layer that allows the metal to be punched up and down and peaks and grooves and valleys and all that kind of stuff, so that when your laser reads it, it's able to read the optical data back, and it's great. But it's not very reliable at all. So what happens if your hard drive crashes and you've got one of those backups that you haven't verified? Jot reminds us, verification is needed as well as just running your backups. When I run a backup for my customers, actually once a month I emulate, what would happen if a system crashed. And that's usually, I'll be honest with you, that's usually when I realize, my backup set is not sufficient. I need to put a little bit more work into the way this particular server is being backed up, because had it crashed today, I might have lost a week's worth of email. Well, we want to cut that down to a day, maybe 2 days. And we work on it like that. So good point. Thank you, Jot. And I hope that that's clear as anything. Okay, one more here. We've got time for Old Salt again, joining us from Maine, USA. Great to hear from you. Thank you for joining us. Says, I'm on Ubuntu 13.04. I can watch past episodes but can't watch live. I installed Flash, which didn't help. Do I have to install something else? That's a hard call. Okay, Category 5 broadcasts live using a couple of different technologies. First of all, if you go to our website and you go to live.cat5.tv, you're watching YouTube. At this point, this is August of 2013, and that's the technology that we're currently implementing in our live feed. Months ago, it was Ustream and Justin.tv. Now it's YouTube. You're not bombarded with advertising, and it also cuts our costs, and it's fantastic. It works really well. So if you can get YouTube Live working, you can get our stream working, and that's as plain as it is. If you can't get it working, you go to our main website, you'll see that there's an alternative. It's called VLC. And VLC is, now that's just a suggested player. What this really is a feed that allows you to watch the show live in your player. So it doesn't have to be brought up in a web browser. The VLC link will actually launch VLC as a player, or it could be Windows movie player, or media player, I should say. It could be QuickTime on your Mac, right? So any of those tools, as long as they can play live video, can play our VLC feed. So that's something you can fall back on. And then again, as I was mentioning at the beginning of the show, Old Salt, is that some people who, for some reason or another, can't watch live will simply tune into the audio feed, which is also available. You can get it at radio.category5.tv, or just through our website during the live show. You'll see all the links on our homepage. Okay, Old Salt's question. Is there an add-on for LibreOffice to translate English to other languages? My wife wrote a book. Congratulations. It's being sold worldwide. Also, congratulations. Here's the thing. We'd like to translate it into other languages. I'm using MS Word to translate to Hindi right now, but I would really like to use Ubuntu rather than Windows. Okay, so with that in mind, Old Salt, let me bring up LibreOffice. I'm going to find it here on my system. We're going to bring up Writer. And the fact is, no, there's nothing There's nothing I would recommend for you that is an extension for LibreOffice. If you go into Tools, Extension Manager, and you go Get More Extensions Online, you'll get the extension database. You can go in here, Extensions, and you can type in whatever you want, or you can search through. You can go through Language Tools, all this kind of stuff. I really don't think you're going to find something that's as good as what I would recommend for what you're trying to do, which is basically translating literature. You want it to be fairly accurate. Now, I'll tell you straight off the bat, and your wife should understand this, that an electronic translation is going to be horrible in many respects. It's like when you get documentation that you know was written in a foreign country and it's been translated into your native language, and you know that it's been done electronically or through a third party who's inexperienced, because it's just the language is poor. And a literal translation by electronic software is never going to be as good as a human translation by somebody who is truly bilingual or multilingual. That said, translators are getting very, very good at understanding. Here's the thing. You remember Microsoft Word? Remember back in the day, we all of a sudden didn't have just red underlines. We got the green ones because it started to recognize grammar and context. Context. For some reason, that was really hard to say just there in that moment. So Google Translate, Bing Translate, all these other ones are getting better at understanding what? Grammar, context. So the translation becomes more and more accurate. That's awesome. But it's still not going to help you in LibreOffice. Okay, so here I am in LibreOffice, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, and we'll create something. Here is my book. What do we want to say? Thank you for reading it. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of little formatting things. I'm going to make book bold. I'm going to make thank you italicized. Okay, and I'm going to just save that to my desktop. So we're going to call this my book, and it's going to save as the default format, which is ODT. So now I've got on my desktop, I've got a file called mybook.odt, and you'll see it's faded there. That's just because I've got these cool, funky effects with Compiz, but it is there. So here's what I'm going to suggest. We're not going to actually use a tool or an extension built into LibreOffice. Instead, we're going to go the new way, which is, what did I say? Google Translate, Bing Translate, all these different services. Alta Vista? Alta Vista is, what was it called? I don't know. They have a good translator too, or had. But the fact is all these things are web-based, right? Because the web gives you access to this amazing resource where it's competitive. Bing wants to be the better translator than Google, and Google wants to be the better one, and they're doing a great job. And so all of a sudden you've got this competitive environment where all these people are doing it, and it's free. It's great, but you don't want to copy and paste your whole book into Google Translate and hope that it will translate the first 2 paragraphs and have to copy it a couple paragraphs at a time because they want to charge you if you want to do anything more than that. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go to this really cool website. You're going to love this, freetranslation.com. And right from here, I'm going to go choose file. And you'll see that it supports doc, PPT, PowerPoint, ODT, that's the file format we're using, PDF, and text. Okay, so let's choose our file. I'm going to browse to my desktop where mybook.odt is located and hit open. And as soon as I hit open, you'll see that it's loaded over on the right-hand side here, and currently I've got it set to Hindi. How convenient is that? So it's automatically translating from English to Hindi, and now if I click on download, now I'm getting a new copy of my book. I'm going to hit save, and now it's saved it to my downloads folder, and I'm going to go there, and there's a copy of my book, and I open it, and what is it? I don't think that there are italices in Hindi, but you get the idea. So now you've got a tool that through freetranslation.com, all of a sudden you're able to translate your entire document. And they offer professional translation service as well. You may need to pay for that extra added touch. It's like publishing your book. You need an editor. You need somebody to be able to just polish off the edges, and that will help do it for you. So thank you very much for the question. Thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. I know it's been a little bit of a different format tonight just because it's all me, but I appreciate you joining me. Next week we're going to be back to our regular format. The vacation is over, and everything will be back to normal. Hillary Rumble is going to be joining me here in the studio. Excited to have her joining us, and a special treat for her from Rob Gorzinski. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. And we're going to have a lot of fun together. So get your questions in live at Category5TV. You can send that in anytime, and we'll get them, and we'll process them, and we'll do our best to get them on the air for you. So have a fantastic week. Great having you here. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next Tuesday night. Bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Category 5 TV broadcasts live from Barrie, Ontario, Canada every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're watching this on demand or through cable TV, check out the local show times in your area at Category5.tv and find out when you can watch live and interact in the community chat room. Category 5 is a production of Prodigy Digital Solutions and is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 2.5 Canada. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.